All right, welcome. It's time for another live stream, another Thursday night. We are fresh off of Apple's Q3 earnings. I am not a financial YouTube channel, but we will get into some of the related news with that, and of course, some smart home news as well, but not as much, a lot more on the Apple side, but kind of, anyways, there's some smart home stuff in there too. Yeah, we're live. Thanks for tuning in, coming here. So, big thing I did earlier today was I put in an order, finally, for a new front door. So if you've seen some of my videos where I review things like locks, my front door is, there's a term in software that I don't like, and I try to discourage people from using, but I think it's accurate here, which is just a pile of hacks. You'll sometimes hear, a developer talk about, oh, that code base is a pile of hacks. My front door currently is a pile of hacks. It was kind of hacked together from the previous owner when we got the house, and it works. It locks. It doesn't open when it's not supposed to. We can unlock it and everything, but long story short, there's just a lot of weird things about it. And so I'm really glad that I'm finally getting a door that looks normal and will look nice and hopefully be great for some future videos about locks, and also be more amenable to one of the challenges I have right now is because there's I think the term is a lock block. Basically, the part of the door where the lock goes is supposed to be solid wood inside of there, and mine is not. So, long story short, that's made things a little bit challenging for taking locks on and off. And there's a while on my channel before I really learned a lot about locks that I just didn't even review any locks. I'm like, I don't want to have to mess with this on my front door. I have reviewed plenty of locks since then, but yeah, hopefully it'll be much easier to swap locks in and out on my new front door. Place the order today, but of course it takes weeks for them to make the door and then install it and everything else. So it'll be some time before you see my new front door on the channel, but that's coming. So yeah, and I got some regulars here in the chat. Good to see you, Jeff. Thanks for tuning in. Saul, good evening. Yeah, I've heard it's just hot everywhere. Thankfully not too bad here right now, but yeah, it's summer. It's also crazy that today is the last day of July, tomorrow being August 1st. Time flies. I feel like it was just yesterday that we were celebrating the 4th of July here in the U.S. But yeah. Hello from Bloomington, Illinois. Cool. Fellow Illinois resident. Nice to see you, Jared. And John from Texas. Yes, very hot. I bet. Yeah, it's oops. No, I just made your chat much smaller. Not what I was intending to do. Oh no. Did I just mess something up here with there we go. Whoops. Note to self, don't scroll with your mouse over that in eCam. Yeah, so I thought this was going to be kind of a quiet live stream in terms of the news side of things, just a lot more to talk about. But it turns out, of course, with Apple's earnings call, there was some interesting data coming out of there. One thing that I saw, I think it was a variety of Apple executives had posted about this earlier today, but of course it came up in the earnings call as well, I think. Now, I did not listen to the earnings call, but I did catch some of the articles that have just now come out based off of things that were said in the earnings call. So just quickly getting into that, Apple sold their 3 billionth iPhone, which is pretty crazy when you think about it, but also not that crazy if you're familiar with kind of numbers of iPhones over the years. 3 billion is a lot. Remember when Apple used to do those raffles, or not raffles, but if you bought the a millionth song on iTunes or other stuff, you'd get a bunch of free stuff. I always thought that was a cool idea, but yeah, I don't think they did anything for the 3 billionth iPhone, it'd be probably pretty hard to track. But yeah, pretty cool. And the other thing I thought that was interesting is, Apple said they're open to the idea of an acquisition that accelerates the AI roadmap. So you might not be familiar, but Apple actually buys a lot of small companies all the time. I mean, I think their classic saying is like Apple buys companies from time to time. But it's, they're often very small acquisitions for small teams. We'll see if they make any big acquisitions. Of course, Perplexity is one that people thrown around. Mistral is a French company that might be, of course, all of this is really going to be a big step forward for the smart speaker side of things as well. So I would love to see Apple making their HomePods and HomePod minis much smarter. Of course, there's been more and more rumors about the new Apple TV potentially having a camera in it. I don't know. There's been more just rumors in general about new Apple TV, which I think means it's probably coming this year. I mean, the last one was in 2022, and that was actually also a pretty small upgrade over 2021. So, the tvOS this year has some nice improvements, but I wouldn't be surprised if one of the things that Apple seems to continue to be building on is that FaceTime app on Apple TV. And yes, you can use it with continuity camera, but I think there is I don't know, that's the one thing that gives me, makes me lean toward that they're actually going to put a camera on the Apple TV, but we'll see. I do just, it is something to note if you already have an Apple TV and you haven't tried FaceTime with the Apple TV, it can be really fun, especially if you're FaceTiming as a group of people to someone else. I have not used it very much at all, but the times I have used it, I always think, oh, I should use this more. It's a really cool feature. So would recommend trying out FaceTime for Apple TV. You don't need the public beta or anything for that. It's already been in there for a couple releases. Yeah. And if you are interested in what is new in the public beta, I have a video on my YouTube channel, so you can go check that out if you haven't already. But yeah, we got some more folks to say hi to. Hey, Brian from Chicago, fellow Chicagoan, although I'm, I guess you could say like a fake Chicagoan. I live in the suburbs, so can't really call myself Chicago a resident, but I did for a year live in the city, so there's that. And then for a number of years, I worked downtown every day. But greetings from Gainesville, Florida. Hey, Carl, thanks for tuning in. Nice to see you here. Oh, you fixed your... Yes, this is a follow-up from... Okay, you had to remove your routers from HomeKit. Oh, so maybe you're using HomeKit router. I think this was a custom that came up, was it last week or the week before? Some disappearing fans. As a YouTuber, I have disappearing fans all the time. Never mind, just joking. But yes, I actually have had a bunch of issues with my Hunter fan that's in my living room. And oh man, it's been really annoying because one of the things that happened is I went through and reset the fan in their app, right? Remove the device, re-add it. And for some reason, like I'd also been signed out of their app, understandably. I mean, I hadn't signed into their app in a long time. And so I sign in and then set up this fan. And so then it triggers this whole flow as if I've just bought a new Hunter fan, right? And set it up, which I did not. It's the same fan that I've had for years. But now, then I started getting all these emails from Hunter about like, don't you like your new fan? Would you like to review it? Like blah, blah, blah. It's all this other stuff. I'm just like, no, leave me alone. So thankfully, you can unsubscribe to emails. But yeah, that was like, seriously, guys, what's going on? I mean, I could see how I was kind of a weird edge case, might have triggered a bug, but goes to show you the quality of Hunter app software, which is already very apparent if you open their app. But yeah, I've just been very annoyed with that fan. But I'm glad to hear that Fitzgerald, you have figured this out, or Fitzgerald, sorry. Yes, Modern day reviews. No one mentioned the frame. Oh, make sure you're getting a door frame that you actually want. I wanted fiberglass door, but it was sold on saving a few bucks with a wood frame. You know, that's a really good point. I ended up going with fiberglass and PVC for a lot of that stuff, just to avoid warping. And I mean, if it's not apparent by watching my videos, I'm very thankful for the home we have, right? The housing market, especially living in close to a big city like Chicago, is very competitive and tough. So I'm very thankful for the house we have, but it is not by any means a fancy high class home. So yeah, I didn't feel like I needed some kind of fancy wood door or anything. Definitely looking to not spend tons of money on the front door, but yeah, I went with fiberglass and PVC frame. If you're just joining, we're catching up on a conversation from earlier. I mentioned that today I placed, actually after much, process, deliberation, talking to people at the store and stuff like that, actually placed an order for a door, for a new front door, which will make the smart lock reviews for you guys much better, I think. So from Des Moines, Zach, another Midwest viewer. Nice to see you here, Zach. Thanks for tuning in. I guess, oh yeah, Lakeview. Cool. Brian from Chicago is not in downtown. Nice. Yes. I'm catching up with the chat. My dad joke. Actually, it's funny. Like I've had this for a while, but I've never, I don't really use this too much, but I always forget, I should have done my dad joke of, well, as a YouTuber, I'm always losing fans, and then, play the sound effect. But I'm not usually that, I don't know. It's kind of cheesy, and I always forget. There's so many things to think about in a live stream, what you're doing. I forget that I could press those buttons on my Rode Podcaster or Rodecaster Duo and do that. Anyways, hey, from New York. Yes, we'll say hi to some more. Yeah, really quick on the fan stuff before we go. My fan in my bedroom is a DC fan with a Lutron fan switch. That's rock solid. That has never fallen off my network at all. So that's another thing to think about too. If you're looking to make a fan smart, you could potentially get a DC fan that's compatible then with a Lutron fan switch. And then if you're using Lutron Caseta for other stuff, you can get one of their fan controls. The one downside is that their fan controls do not support the new Claro switch style. It's a very much the original style look for Lutron, if you know what I'm talking about there. So slight downside there for that, but otherwise it's a great fan switch control and could be a way to make an existing fan or a new fan smart. I would definitely recommend that over something like Hunter. The one thing you lose with something like that you do get with a true smart fan is being able to change the direction. So with like the Hunter fan, and also with like things like the Govee Matter Tower fan, which I talked about in a sponsorship recently on, I think, one of my like upgrading my smart home videos, that can control the direction, right? So you can change which way it's blowing the air, which for ceiling fans, I think there's like doing it reverse is good in the winter. I don't really understand all the physics behind that, but I've heard that. So take that for what it's worth. Oh, cool. Yeah. I've, a fellow, I won't name names, but a fellow smart home creator was like going to me and a handful of other people, I think, trying to find a contact there to work on a video with that company. But yeah, I think their fans are really cool. I don't have room for them here. Whoops, I'm sorry. I keep changing this size here. But I don't have room for those huge fans that company has, but it's good stuff. So another thing that Stephen Moser discovered in the recent iOS betas, and I was really excited to see this, and I think it brings up a lot of interesting ideas, Steve Moser, I'm sorry. He's one of the folks who digs around these Apple betas and other software and finds strings, other bits of source code that might, not actual source code because it's compiled, right? But it's other things like images or things that could give away. There's all kinds of different ways you can reverse compile things. Or Guillermo Rambo is another developer who's done this. And on one of his podcasts a while back, he talked in detail about what this is like from a technical side. I should dig that up and link to it at some point. But it's a lot of really cool, but also very tedious work to go through a lot of these betas and find stuff like this. So thanks to Steve for looking and finding this. And Steve has a great track record of doing this. And this is, by the way, the software from Apple, I think usually it's publicly available, right? So you can download the developer beta files and then look through those. There's not, any kind of coercing somebody at the fruit company to give away secrets. But this thermostat adaptive temperature, right? So there's this string for this service of HS thermostat adaptive temperature title. That's like the string reference probably for then what the English, probably American translation is, or US English translation, adaptive temperature. And then, there's options here of optimize for clean energy. Could reduce electricity usage, which is always nice, both for saving the environment, saving money. And then there's also adjust when someone is home or predicted to arrive soon. And also for nighttime. So, that could also be, especially in certain places, change temperature drastically at night. Definitely a time where a smart home could kick in and optimize energy in various ways, compensating with turning on the furnace more or something, at night if it's a cold night, but also maybe if it's a place like a desert, right? You could do some things with bringing in cool air at night that then helps make it, I guess, easier to cool during the day. All kinds of different, maybe creative interpretations of how this could actually hook up to your HVAC system. But I thought it makes a lot of sense that this is something that at least Apple is exploring. Again, this is not, officially announced at all by Apple. This is just seen in their betas. But the adaptive temperature, they have adaptive lighting already, which is so that brand name fits. Adaptive lighting, of course, is changing the color of your white lights to be either more of a yellow hue at night, a warmer hue at night, or a cooler hue in the morning, to just kind of help with your sleep cycle, a circadian rhythm. And I find adaptive lighting to be a great setting. It's something I'm actually going to be talking about in a video soon, along with some other stuff. But so adaptive temperature, I think same idea. The one thing that I think Apple really has a leg up on here with smart home automations is we could all probably, a lot of experienced smart home users in this chat could list out any number of different ways you could do automations with any number of different smart home platforms of hey, when I arrive home, when I leave home, Home Assistant, Homey Pro, of course, Apple Home in general, so many places, and that's just scratching the surface. But Apple and Google are the only two big smart home players that know that even though you are, let's say, 100 miles away from your home, that you're going to be home at 4:34 p.m. when, or whatever time it is based on your maps. So I would love to see Apple integrate this, with some kind of a map thing where you put in your directions, right? And there's some kind of UI around setting your thermostat to what you want. And I think it would be really useful. And I think sometimes you might think, well, how often are you driving to your home and using maps? But I find, back to the whole living in the Chicago area, right? My job, there was a while there for my job where I was going to the actual company headquarters sometimes 3 times a week. And so it's quite a long drive all the way across the suburban Chicago area through lots of interstates, lots of potential traffic situations and accident areas, right? So I'd frequently, even though I knew multiple ways to get to and from, I would use Apple Maps or Google Maps to get real-time traffic and then hopefully go around traffic jams, construction, or other things that might be slowing it down. And so I could see plenty of people who are in a similar situation, right? You have a long drive or commute. Maybe it's even semi-regularly, maybe it's not, but in a big metropolitan area, and you're using maps all the time for stuff like that, even though you know the way. And so something like that could be really nice of, well, no one's home right now, but I know when I arrive, let's cool down the home. So enough on that tangent, but something I thought was really cool. And I hope Apple goes forward with something with adaptive temperature. And, you know, we didn't really hit too much on the energy efficiency side, but that's also another side of it. Hey, got some great folks in the chat. Oh yeah. Okay. So Dreo 513. Yeah. You're not the first person who I've seen mention, Dreo. I have not tried their fans. But yeah, good to hear. And there's also, if you have another thing with fans to make fans smart, if you have a fan that's, or a, let's say a window AC unit, something like that, that's controlled with infrared, you can use something like a SwitchBot hub or an Aqara hub to emit those infrared signals. It can learn those infrared signals and emit those to control that device. And SwitchBot actually has some ways, you can make it kind of almost be like a real smart device, even though it's just controlled by a remote control. So Lone Star. Yes, I hit on this last time, Lone Star Trent. Very, very sad situation, and not something I just don't think we know enough information about. We'll see what happens in the trial proceedings or whatever happens through that. I haven't been following the story closely if it's evolved since last week. But yeah, I like rumors that are sort of reported on by people who I view as trying to be journalists. And we don't know I don't want to jump to conclusions about what or details were going on with that particular scenario that Lone Star Trent brought up. But, the people that I get the impression are just trying to report on things they're told or go out and find information like inside of software or things that Apple publishes, right? Be good detectives, be good journalists. That I think, those rumors I think are interesting and bring up some good topics of conversation. It's never a business that I would want to get into in terms of actually finding those, being the source of those rumors. But as those rumors come out, I think it's makes for some interesting conversation, and it kind of can help us think about like, what do we want to do with our Apple tech and also just smart homes in general. And there are actually a handful of, like Twitter accounts and some other things around the smart home space specifically that cover rumors in the smart home space, right? So there's some of that too that can give some good insight, whether you're not as into Apple, but just new smart home tech coming out. And also another thing with that is to always keep an eye on things like the semiconductor companies, like Nordic Semiconductor has a huge market share in the smart home space, as well as Silicon Labs, Micro Edge. Like some of the tech that those companies are making sometimes can indicate, oh, they're making a controller that makes this very easy, so we'll probably see more companies do this kind of a thing. Or I haven't seen anything from them doing this, so it's probably not going to happen anytime soon. That's another sort of leading indicator of what's going on in the smart home space, and something I've always wanted to talk about in a video. And I've drafted a few ideas, but now it's never actually made it to this is a cool video where I could make. Because all the videos I want to make there would just take so much time and travel and money and interviewing people and stuff that it's not something I can scratch the surface on right now. But yeah. Yeah, I agree, Holland Tech. I often find myself just leaving the Maps app open, either Google Maps or Apple Maps, whatever I was more recently using. And yeah, it's really nice just to be able to see the map. Also, depending on the car, like my wife's car has a built-in map on the display, right? So even if you're not running CarPlay, you still see a map on the car screen. So those two, can be nice as well. I think it's a nice. It can burn your battery a little bit if you're not careful. But these days, our phones have so much battery power. The navigation usually works out pretty no problem. Okay. Yes, that's another good point, Lone Star Trent. FCC filings, another good place to look for things that are disclosed that might be coming. And a lot of the websites we follow are doing the same thing too, and we'll kind of pull those up as well. Oh, yeah, download the map. That's another good point. You could save your battery by downloading your local or area maps. And a lot of times, I think both Apple Maps and Google Maps now will prompt you for a while, like, hey, this is your local area. Why don't you download the maps? So, and they'll sync it in the background for updates. So, good question, Zach. I just started with Aqara for my home security through HomeKit. Do I have to pay for monthly Aqara subscription in order to take advantage of the security features in HomeKit? No, you do not, with the exception of HomeKit Secure Video. So the advantage of, and you do need the physical hardware of what's called a Apple Home or HomeKit hub in your home. I made a video a while back about the hubs controlling your Apple smart home, something like that. Those are an Apple TV, a HomePod Mini, or a full-size HomePod 2. One of those will then basically talk to your security system or whatever on your local network, like your Aqara bridge. And then if there's an event, like a security event, it could notify you of stuff. Although I would also, in that case, try to set up Aqara notifications just so that you have that as a method of notifying too. And those notifications usually, in my experience, come through as critical alerts, which is nice because then they'll break through like do not disturb and other things, depending on how you've set up your focus modes. So you don't have to pay for that. You do have to pay for HomeKit Secure Video. You do by way of paying for a premium iCloud subscription. So if you pay for iCloud, let's say to back up your photo library, maybe your devices, then you can also pay for I'm making no sense. You also get HomeKit Secure Video camera footage stored in iCloud with those premium iCloud or Apple One subscriptions, and that does not count against your storage tier with iCloud. So those clips are just stored in the cloud for you with your plan. And I think the base plans cover like one camera, and then it goes up to the highest end iCloud plan, which I pay for, that covers unlimited HomeKit Secure Video cameras, which is great. So that's the cost around HomeKit and security. I need a new exterior light. Any recommendations? Most of my lighting is Hue, but I'm open to anything. I wanted to highlight this for the chat because I just haven't done a lot of exterior light videos. One thing you might consider as well, just given like exterior lights have to be, probably like installed and wired up to a box. Yes, there are some cool outdoor ones. Philips Hue makes some that I've seen and they look really nice. You might also consider just a smart bulb inside of a normal fixture. I've had a non-smart fixture controlled by a smart switch on the inside of your home, because that will give you a lot of the functionality, but then it's also something where if you move out of the home one day, you're leaving the future owner with something they're probably completely fine using as well, even if they're not into smart home tech. Where some of these ones where you might have to have a Hue bridge in order to control them, then you're signing yourself up for more work if you move away at some point or something goes wrong with them. I don't know. I just think having the non-smart outdoor fixtures and things can be really nice. I mean, I have never really been into a lot of the garden lighting and stuff just because I haven't put the, people sometimes might wonder, like, where do I find the time for my YouTube channel? I don't do a lot of care for my yard. I do like the bare minimum, right? So I don't have like beautiful gardens that I put lights in and stuff like, so that's not an area I've explored too much, but what I've done in the past is just go with a non-smart fixture and then get a smart bulb or a smart switch. So, but I'm sure folks in the chat have probably tried some different smart lights from folks like, companies like Govee and Philips Hue and others, Nanoleaf. So yeah. Oh, and LifeX. Yes, that's another good point. I think Modern Day Tech had a video all about LifeX outdoor lights a while back. And yes, and Govee. So thanks, Al. Oh, yes, Technostalgic. This is a good question. So, I've been kind of taking this philosophy with my YouTube channel. Like, this is going to sound really weird and random, but is like having a artist in residence, right? Like there's like some kind of orchestra or maybe other kind of art museum or something. They might have like an artist in residence, right? I have like a TV or a projector in residence where like I set the thing up. I maybe do a full video just on that or not, or it's integrated into other content, but it's like it then becomes like the recurring product that I talk about when I'm talking about smart home and TVs and projectors, something like that. And so when I say this, I'm talking about what I currently have, but it's not saying that things I've talked about in the past, that like if I liked a product in the past, it doesn't mean that I don't like it now because I'm using something different, just because my life is weird. But I do really like the Hisense U8, the 2025 model. I asked Hisense to send me one, and they did, because I was looking at that. Just seemed like a really good value for money TV, where you get the high refresh rates for gaming or just future-proofing the TV, right? If things move to higher frame rates for things more than gaming, you're set there with that TV. And then it also has good brightness for HDR. And then it has I think 3 HDMI ports that all support 165 hertz HDMI 2.1. So that was a nice spec, and it's usually can be around like $1,000 depending on the size and model for your TV. So it seemed like a good TV as I was playing with the Nintendo Switch 2 and some other things. And it also, one of the things I really like to look for in TVs as you're looking at TVs, back to the dream setup part of the question, is something that works with Google TV. Generally speaking, is my favorite smart home TV platform. Of course, Apple does not make a smart home TV platform themselves. But the key there, I think it's worth looking at, does it support Apple HomeKit or Apple Home? Because then you can, as I've talked about in recent videos and shorts and stuff, you can control the TV input and other stuff in Apple Home, which can be a nice benefit. Of course, with an Apple TV connected, you get a lot of similar functionality there, but not everything. So some things to consider. I would say if I wanted to go with like an OLED or something much higher end, right? Which I might start looking at higher end TVs than, $1,000 range, would be something like maybe the Bravia 8 Mark II from Sony, which has just seemed to get a lot of good reviews this year. So that seems to be like a really compelling OLED TV. But I mean, then there's also the debate of like, do you go with something like mini LED or QLED or OLED? Because like I like the fact with my QLED TV from Hisense that I can just have like the blinds open behind it, and I can still get a pretty good view of the TV. I don't see, it's bright enough that the bright light coming through the windows doesn't really mess with the picture too much. Like if I really want to get good picture, then I shut the curtains bright, but you don't have to do that if you don't want to. And so that's kind of a nice feature of that OLED just in general doesn't get quite as bright. So some of those scenarios aren't quite as good. So I would say though, yeah, dream TV right now probably would be the Bravia 8 Mark II, but I do also really like the Hisense U8 that I have. I don't know, it's a funny parallel in the number 8. With the projector, I've been really loving the Hisense C2 Ultra. That's what I have in my basement right now. I think that the features that it has, that if I were to go get a projector today, I would be really concerned about getting based on like having tried other projectors, is the optical zoom capability, as well as more than 3,000 nits of brightness. Because I think, 3,000 ANSI lumens. That's not nits. The 3,000 lumens from a projector really hits it into a nice category with a long throw projector as opposed to a short throw projector, because with a short throw you get usually an ALR screen, which adds a lot of gain and brightness to the image. But if you have a longer throw projector, you just get having that 3,000 lumens is a really nice amount of here it is. Let me pull up this projector. A nice amount of brightness. And you know, cause like Valerian sent me their Stream Master 2 Plus, I think it is. And that is their lower end projector from Valerian that does not have optical zoom, and it has 2,000 ANSI lumens. And it's not a bad projector. I thought it was great. And back to the HomeKit thing, that all of Valerian's projectors support HomeKit. The Hisense does not, although it does have Apple AirPlay built in, which is nice to have that. So let me go ahead and pull this up on the screen. So this is the C2 Ultra, and it's been sold out for a while. I don't know if they've just like stopped making it for the next year's model or what, but it also has good refresh rate for gaming. I mean, for a projector, right? But yeah, I've been very impressed with the brightness level and the optical zoom. So that's where I'd say like, and generally speaking, I think from that, it's really, you're looking at what is the difference between like a $2,000 or below dollar level projector versus a $3,000 projector. And that's what, this projector is, retails for 3,000, was on sale for 2,500. That's when you start to get into the higher lumens, the optical zoom. And the optical zoom I didn't mention too. The benefit there, which I was initially like, I don't know if this is really necessary, but I think it does make the picture sharper from what I've seen, is basically that, so your projector has a certain throw ratio of how big the screen is going to be when it's a certain distance away from the screen. And so if you have a room where you can be flexible about where you put the projector relative to the screen on the wall, then you can determine that exact distance you need to line up with your screen. And then you don't need optical zoom because you just place the projector exactly where it needs to be to match the screen size, and it works great. But plenty of times, real life gets in the way. You want to mount it in the ceiling in a particular place, or the furniture you want to set it on, whatever. Different details. And so then the optical zoom can help then shift the lenses so that the image, then the throw ratio changes a little bit, right? And so then it can match up with the screen on the wall. Now, there's still limits to that amount of zoom, and you can go beyond those limits, at a certain point. But yeah, it just gives you a nicer image. Most projectors, you can still, even if you don't have an optical zoom projector, you can still sort of shrink the image down. And I don't think it's literally like cropping part of the picture from an optical perspective, but I don't understand all the scientific details there. But it is still not as good of a picture quality, in my view, as a optical zoom projector, which is why, I think it's a feature they charge more money for, and by a lot of companies do. So I think that's part of why, right? There's a value there, and cost. So yeah. You didn't even ask about projectors. I just got excited and started talking about those, but that's tech nostalgic. Good question. And thanks for that. And yes, I still use the Sonos Arc Ultra and rear Era 100s. I haven't really touched that setup in 2025 at all. It's been pretty solid, and I've had other things I've been focused on, and it has a sub mini. I could see the argument for a full-size sub. I'm just not that into bass heavy feeling, like feeling the thump in my chest with a action movie. I mean, it's fun, but I don't know, just not something I care enough about to fork out the money for the big sub. But I, from on paper perspective, that would be a good upgrade for my setup. But yeah, otherwise very happy with the Arc Ultra and the Rear Era 100s. Again, also then Rear Era 300s. I have a friend who got Rear Era 300s, and that can really step up the atmosphere with those upward firing tweeters in the Era 300s. That's also, by the way, this is another tangent. I'm sorry. Well, if you're looking for just a Sonos speaker that can be really flexible and like sound really good in a lot of different rooms, was so impressed, and am still so impressed with the Era 300. Came out a number of years ago. It's not necessarily new, but it has so many different tweeters in different directions. It does not look good as a speaker in my view, but man, does it sound good. And it does a lot of cool stuff with surround audio. You can get a stereo pair of those or just one. We have one in our dining room, and what I love about that speaker is that for something like a dining room where you're often playing music in the background, one Era 300 I find brings out some of the detail in the music even at softer volumes, and even when it's not necessarily placed all that well in the room. But that's kind of nice. As a musician, I like being able to like hear the details in the music while also like being there in the conversation, and we're not like listening to loud audio while eating a meal, right? So that's something about the Era 300 I think is really good. I mean, the HomePod also does that in a way as well. They're just, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. I think probably some people would prefer one or the other. The HomePod is also very good at that kind of scenario. That's cool. Good to hear, Al. So Matter binding for Wi-Fi control. Yes. So you've tried the Matter binding of the LifeX Luna button to a Matter LifeX bulb. Yes. So I have my LifeX Luna over there. It's wired up in a way I couldn't really just grab it and bring it here on camera. But it's a cool part of Matter binding, and that Matter binding is actually becoming a thing now. When the LifeX Luna came out, it was kind of a rare new experimental thing. But yeah, with LifeX bulbs, you can try that out, and that's cool. Cool that you're getting that going. Oh yes, good question, Lone Star Trent. So Rob over at the Hookup on YouTube has done a lot of videos on projector paint and projector screens. I have not tried projector paint myself, but the impression I get is it's not going to be as good as a PVC material screen. And when you look at the cost of the projector paint being, and also Rob has a lot of videos kind of questioning the value, or not a lot. I saw one video from Rob on this, and maybe there are others, but like kind of questioning the value of some of the projector paints. What is it really giving you what they're claiming, right? Because you can go find these specialty projector paints to paint your projector screen, or you can go to your hardware store and just buy a pure white matte paint, and then of course, like, which is better, right? And one is obviously a lot cheaper. Just going to your hardware store and buying a basic matte white paint is going to be cheaper. And I would say, like, when Valerian sent me their projector, they also sent me one of their basic screens. And in the 100-inch size for my setup, it is $300, which I think when you look at, like, okay, if you're buying paint, you're maybe spending $50 on a can of paint. It depends on how big your screen is. And then you're going to have to paint it multiple coats to get it to look good. Maybe you'd need a primer or something depending on your scenario. Maybe that's in the paint already. But either way, then you're spending a lot of time. And so you're quickly getting, to be into the $100 price range. Obviously, then like if you just triple that amount of money, so it's like it's a little bit more. But I do think like $300 for a projector screen from Valerian, I find to be a good trade-off of quality for the price. There are also some other cheaper projector screens out there as well. I did a collaboration recently with Nothing Projector. They sent me one of their floor rising screens that I was very impressed with. I haven't tried their wall mounted screens, but you could potentially find something from them. They sell a bunch of different brands of projector screens. So they're different places, but I would say generally speaking, if you can find a good, well-rated, well-reviewed projector screen, like let's say this Valerian one, for not too much money in your budget, it's probably better to save up and get that rather than doing a projector paint. The other detail there too, why I think it might be better to just wait until you can actually buy the screen, right? You could get the projector, but then like don't paint, just use a screen, is that a lot of these projectors, depending on when you get like the C2 Ultra that I have, it does color adjustment. So it will look at the color of your wall, and then it will, it does auto keystone correction, but where's the intelligent wall color adaption? I don't think that's a word, but yeah, so it'll adjust the picture to match the color of the wall. And so if you're able to get a projector that has that feature, that can kind of make up for the fact that you don't have it. You're not going to get the brightness from just the wall, the blank wall, that you will with something like a projector screen. It'll always give you a better picture. And maybe projector paint, but that's kind of where I go with that. But yeah, so just project on the wall for the time being. Oh, nice. Oh, cool. 120 inch for 85. That sounds like a good deal. Yeah. And then, as long as you get that PVC material, I think that's really the key, or some kind of similar like white material that's not paint, like industrial thing. So yeah, enough on that. Another thing I wanted to talk about is this thing. I mentioned it briefly, I think, in my newsletter, which, by the way, ericw.org/newsletter. Sign up for my Sunday Scene weekly newsletter. 3 things that I think are worth your attention in the world of Apple and smart home tech. Shameless self-promotion aside. The plug bug from 12 South. This came out like a week or two ago. Here, let me get my camera to focus on that. There we go. The PowerBug, not plug bug. Plug bug is a different product from 12 South. This is the PowerBug. So I got this. I was all excited to talk about it for you guys, make a short. I ordered it with my own money, even paid for like a little bit faster shipping so I get it in time to make a video. And then of course I plug it in. It charges my phone for like a half second and then like stops. And I think I just got like a bad unit. 12 South is sending me another one, just from customer support. Nothing with being a creator or anything. It's just customer support and being a customer. But yeah, so hopefully one of these days I'll talk about it. Stephen Robles on YouTube talked about this product and some others. So I think this was a fluke. I don't think this is like a common endemic problem with this product. But while I haven't had a good experience, I like the idea, which is just that you can take a power outlet on your wall and then turn it into a place to mount your iPhone with standby mode, right? So you get that like smart display in your kitchen kind of a thing. You don't have to, this is kind of expensive for what it is, but it's a nice design, right? So it's 12 South, surprise, surprise. It's $50, I think, for this thing. But it has the MagSafe puck on the front, which you can mount your phone on, and then it has a USB-C port on the bottom, which you can then use to charge something else if you needed to, right? So, yeah. Anyways, I didn't see global outlet versions of these because I know we have viewers from other countries, but this is just for North American style outlets, I think, right now. But I hope they make it for other countries. I think it's a cool product, but we'll see. I haven't actually tried a working version yet, but I just wanted to mention that here. Yes, great use cases. Also, Holland Tech mentions bathrooms. I agree. That's another place where they have it in some of their marketing photos as well. So bathrooms are a cool use case for this. So here I'll show the this is the product page for that. No, okay. Yeah, so it comes in white and black. No, not black. Yeah, black, slate black or white. I ordered it in white. That's just what I like. Yeah, nice to have. And see, here's the USB-C charging example. So we all are dreaming for the day of Apple's smart display, but this is here right now. Yeah, that's a good point, Lone Star Trent. If you've been following this world of iPhone rumors, but also charging stuff, I think it's Qi 2.2 is the new standard, which has faster wireless charging, and a lot of people are speculating with Apple and MagSafe and things they could get to 50 watts, or maybe not quite 50 watts, but something like much faster than what it currently charges at with MagSafe, which would be cool. I mean, with the Apple Watches, the battery's so much smaller, but the fast charging on the Apple Watches is really nice, especially if you want to track your sleep. You can charge pretty substantial amounts, right, going from close to zero to up to like 75% in a very short amount of time, let's say like a half hour. And I would love to see the same thing on iPhone. It's different size battery, different problem set, but yeah, we'll see how that works out. Yeah, that's another point, modern day reviews. I wish it was tilted a bit. There was something I was going to talk about in my video on the PowerBug is like, it would be great if they tilted. I wouldn't be surprised if the PowerBug gets some traction if you don't see some other sort of companies we know and love in the charger space make similar versions, which maybe have some more options along those lines. I've seen some ads on Instagram for like some phone mounts that have a similar idea, but not the PowerBug, but like where it's like MagSafe, but then it like kind of pops out, but they don't charge the phone when they pop out and tilt. So I think getting the charging mechanics in something that tilts is probably tricky. Maybe version 2 of this product, but yeah. Let's see. Oh, cool. Greetings from Uruguay. Thanks for tuning in, Facundo. Outdoor contact sensors. There are some. My friend and fellow YouTuber Shane Watley has talked about some of these in the past. I'm trying to remember. Does Hugh have one? I think Akara does not, right? Because Akaras are all indoor. Yeah, I would love to hear in the chat if some people know of some outdoor contact sensors. There also, here's on Etsy. You could probably 3D print something like this. Is something that's an enclosure for, and again, I don't know if this is actually like waterproof rated, but an enclosure for an Akara contact sensor. So you could potentially 3D print something if you're into that. I haven't really gotten into 3D printing myself. It's a whole rabbit hole that I'm just like, it looks cool. I just haven't had time. Oh, cool. Oh, yes. Okay, yes, he's using a Akara sensor in a box. Thank you, Lone Star Trent. Yeah, I couldn't remember. I remember hearing Shane talk about like outdoor contact sensors with his fence and some stuff. I didn't remember what it is. My fence is I mentioned at the front of my video stream that my front door has been a pile of hacks. There are also lots of hacks that I've also contributed to in certain cases with the fence around my backyard. So you kind of have to jostle things to get the fence to shut properly, and it might not always be at the same level. So I just haven't had a reason, given the challenges of my current fence and not wanting to replace the entire thing, because I have a huge yard, and so that would be an enormous cost to get a new fence or things. So yeah, I haven't really played with outdoor contact sensors. But Facundo, you might look into either 3D printing yourself or finding online some kind of a enclosure for an Aqara contact sensor, especially with Aqara putting their bridges in more and more things. You can get an outdoor camera that could talk to it over Zigbee or Thread. Of course, even a lot of an Aqara bridge in your home could also do that. You could also look at things where like the trick with the enclosure that you want to make sure is ideally you'd be attaching those with screws, because I think any outdoor sensor, don't know if I would trust adhesive, like the sticky stuff to stick it to a wall inside. I don't trust any of that to hold up over the change of seasons, right? So, or even just hot weather, cold weather, one or the other. So yeah, you want to screw or nail it into the fence. But, oh, cool. Yeah, this is why I love folks in the chat who are into all of this stuff in ways that I don't always catch. So let's look at this together. Tailwind outdoor contact sensor. Because I use the Tailwind garage door controller, and it's very good. Now this is the... Tailwind just has the garage door sensor on their website, which is not what we would want here. Anyways, cool. Bulldog gate lock. Oh, it was not successful on Kickstarter. Okay, Curiosity Cat. That's a bummer. Well, it is like, I think one of the challenges here is also like the use case, right? I think a lot of homes in the U.S. and in North America tend to like not have the same kind of courtyard setup that you might see in other parts of the world, where you'd have almost like a fence up to your property edge where you open it and then you enter a courtyard of some kind, where I could see really wanting some kind of a nice gate automation, right? You open the gate, boom, your landscape lighting turns on, or you close the gate and, some other automations happen. I think that's one of the challenges of like, of course, North America is one big smart home audience, not the only one, but I think that for sure, but it's like, I think that might cripple the market, right? In terms of like, if there's a big part of the market that is not as interested in it, and I know I'm generalizing a little bit here, but I think it plays into like the architecture of different places, and obviously there's exceptions on both ends, but yeah, it's a bummer. Bulldog did not get funding there. Yeah. So enough on. Oh yeah, and 3M outdoor tape. Good suggestion, Saul. I've heard, you're not the first person I've heard mention, now that you're jogging my memory, like 3M outdoor tape. I mean, their adhesives inside are great. So yeah, that could also be another thing of somehow enclosing a contact sensor. And you'd kind of be, you would be losing the ability to change the battery, or at least easily, but you could almost like probably play with something like 3M outdoor tape, an Aqara contact sensor, and using something like clear caulk to just, or something kind of clear, caulk is, or similar kind of substance to just seal the outside. I don't know if caulk would stick well to plastic, probably would, but there's probably some other kind of sealant you could use to just kind of you put it on and you have that contact sensor. And a lot of these Zigbee sensors, you get like a couple of years of life out of them. It's more expensive than changing the battery, and maybe you could just cut open the sealant and then reseal it when you get a new battery. But that's another thing to think about. And also, as I talked about in my contact sensor video, like the Aqara contact sensor and a lot of others, the small side is often just a little magnet of some kind, and so you could probably take that out and embed it or protect it in something that makes more sense for outside. Enough on the outdoor contact sensors. Yeah, there's another couple questions. Oh yeah, and 3M tape on the enclosure. Yeah, you could probably just do that too. Okay, cool. And maybe for the gate thing too, with the outdoor contact sensor, maybe a garage door gate controller like this from Tailwind, or their future version of this that works with gates, could be really nice because I think there could be some real this could be a totally alternate solution to solve that problem of just some kind of thing that's meant to work with a gate, as in what I'm thinking of with this is like a gate in front of a road, right? That's like a road to a big house, and then it opens up. You could do something with that. So, all right. We have been going for a while here, about an hour now, and really good to talk to everybody. I have a conflict with this time next week, so there will be no... Oh, yeah, but the Caribbean sun kills it. Okay. The igloo padlock. Yeah, and I bet... I think it was somewhere in South America, probably close to the equator. I'm sorry, I'm trying to remember. Facundo's from Uruguay. Yeah, so probably also a lot of sun. Okay, anyways. But yeah, great to talk to everybody tonight. It's been a fun hour chatting with you. A lot of fun things going on behind the scenes with my channel. Things coming... work in progress on some stuff. So I'm just having a blast being on YouTube, talking to you guys and making videos. So stay tuned, more stuff to come. I don't have like a bonus video to send you to this week, so it's just going to be a sign off. But I do have a conflict next week, so there will be no live stream on my channel next Thursday night, but I should be able to see you again 2 weeks from now. So until then, and see you in videos and stuff in between then. So have a good one. Thanks, everybody. Bye.